Namaskar. Welcome to Prakash on Basics. I am Prakash Zog, and we've been talking on the Maha Yadnyas. We've talked of two of the Yadnyas. Now we look into the third one, the Pitru Yadnya. This is in response to the Pitru Runa. And as I said, in a single word, it was defined then as the solution to Pitru Runa was the Yajna in the form of Tarpana, that is offering water and other objects to your ancestors on special occasions, on special days, as well as on a regular basis. Basically, the idea was that you remember your ancestors, your lineage, and make offerings to them. That was not all that was expected. At other places, it has been specified that you need to take care of your parents who are alive, provide all possible comfort to your parents, take them on pilgrimages, take care of their health, take care of their food, take care of their well-being. There are quite a few examples in our culture indicating how the parents have been cared for by the children. One of the earliest examples that is talked of is the beginning of Ramayana itself, where it is Shravan who is carrying his parents on a pilgrimage in a basket, and since one of them says they're thirsty, he goes to get water. And I'm sure you know the episode as to what happened and how he lost his life trying to bring water for his parents. And then there is another tale that is very common in the central part of India, in Maharashtra, which is associated with Vithala, the different incarnation of Vishnu. This is the story about Pundalik, and the Lord was asked by his consort as to who his true bhakta was, and he replied, yes, that there is this guy called Pundalik. So she said, let's go and see him. So they came all the way from Vaikuntha to talk to him, and when they reached the door and knocked, he was inside, and his parents were sleeping, and he was pressing their feet, which is a very common practice in India. So the Lord said, Pundalik, I have come to see you. And the story goes that he took a brick and threw it at the Lord and said, why don't you stand on that till I finish my basic job, which is to take care of my parents. And it is said that it is in this form that Vithala is present, standing on a brick, waiting for his disciple to finish his score and come and see him once more. So these are the stories of how parents are to be taken care of. We find so many other examples also, but I'm not going to go into details of those stories. There are some other issues that are also talked of when they talk of this particular yajna, the Pitru Yajna. One of the responsibilities, other than taking care of parents, is to ensure that you have a progeny and there is a continuation of your lineage. Today's terminology says you need to pass on your genes. Otherwise, how would the human race survive? There is a sad issue nowadays. There are some so-called educated kids, grown-ups, who don't want children. They prefer taking care of dogs and cats rather than having children of their own, because they seem to be too much of a burden. They don't realize that this is not a feeling that their own parents had. If they would have had that, they would not have been born today. So it is our responsibility to ensure that this great genetic lineage that has come to us is passed on to the next generation after we are no longer here. There is one more issue associated with this which comes with modern times, and that is that if you are with your parents taking care of them, It sets a very good example to your children also. There is a great harmony in the family. Uh, you get free advice, and you get a good set of people who are taking care of you either way around, and you're setting a great example for the next generation. So it's this social development that comes about through this particular concept of Pitru Runa, being satisfied by the Pitru Yadnya, a commitment that I will care, a commitment that I will take care of my parents. I will ensure that all their needs are satisfied, all their wants are taken care of, their health is maintained to the optimum as far as possible. And that brings us to the fourth one. It is known as the Bhuta Yadnya. Sometimes it is also known as the Vishwe Deva Yadnya. This particular concept of Vishwe Deva Yadnya that is talked of is there are two aspects that are talked of whenever this Bhuta Yajna is referred to. One is that humans are not the only species that is around, and there are so many other animals that are around, and they help us in a variety of ways during our lifespans. In ancient times, quite a few of them were used to provide the necessary force for a majority of activities that the humans carried out. There is another aspect that is mentioned very often, and this deals with what is known as some inadvertent errors by humans. Unknowingly, we perform some harm, or rather we cause some harm, or occasionally kill insects or others during our daily routines. In our Smrutis, 5 of these have been identified. In fire, while you are cooking, while you are grinding on the grinding wheel, when you are pounding grain in a cask with a pounder, while sweeping the floor, or when you are extracting water from the well or other source and carrying it back home again. It is these 5 tasks that are carried out very regularly by the people, a Gruhastha and his family. And during this process, it is quite likely that some harm may have come about to various insects and others. To compensate for the demerits, the pap that is accumulated because of this, a Gruhastha must perform the Pancha Maha Yadnyas, is a concept that was also put forward. From his cooked food, before he eats, he must set aside some food for the cow, for the dog, the birds, the ants, and the destitutes, incapable of managing to get food on their own. This cooked food was typically referred to as bali. And so, as a practice, before a Gruhastha starts eating, he is expected to make sure that some food is kept separate under these categories. It was referred to as go grass, the morsel of the cow, or the kakavali, the food, the cooked food that was offered to crows, and pipalika is nothing but the ant. So you would notice that many of the Indians, when they start eating, before they begin to eat, they sprinkle water all around their plates, and some morsels of food are left outside, so that any insects that are around should be able to grasp some part of food. Today, our lifestyles have changed, but the way we kill things have also changed. inadvertently casualties still happen. Pesticides are used. We sterilize so many things. The very word sterilization is to kill germs. Mosquito nets are good enough, but we now have those mosquito rackets that kill mosquitoes. And then we use so many filters to keep microbes out, and we use disinfectants. They too, these microbes, microorganisms that we talk of today, they too have a right to live. And we, for our benefits, are taking away their lives. We should be aware of this. Today, the idea is that you do the necessary thing and prevent killing of them, but make sure that they are no longer a pest for you. There is one more issue related to the same thing, and that is that during a major yajna, at the end of the yajna, before the final food was presented as ahuti and passed on, a special plate was prepared, is prepared with the help of the priests, and the gruhastha has to place it outside, and this is food, cooked food, that is for all the supernatural entities that are around us. May not be the gods themselves, but others, good or bad. And so this is saying that yes, we accept that you are around and that there is a share available for you too. So this deals with the Vishwadeva Yajna, and this has to be performed every single day. If it's a major issue, then separately, but if not, keeping food for the animals, for the birds, for others is something that we must practice even today. And the last one, the fifth one, is the Manushya Yajna or the Nru Yajna. This Nru Yajna is to accept and compensate for the human debt that all social elements have provided to an individual. They have helped us in so many different ways. I have listed that out when I talked of the runas. This runa has to be repaid, and that is talked of in terms of atithi care. Tithi, is negation, tithi is the date. So when you have an unannounced guest, unexpected guest at your place, you are supposed to provide all respect to him, provide food to him, and provide the means to ensure that he can be around comfortably. Seems to be an odd thing, committed to such a large extent. Why is the reason that we must first think of. The time when this was thought of and put forward as a rule for everyone is when traveling was not all that comfortable. People used to travel for a variety of reasons, and pilgrimages were one of these. And the distance is very far off. India is a very huge country, and so traveling all the way along, you cannot carry all your resources all along. You cannot carry your food all along. You cannot make sure that you have cooked food at every point. And so all these travelers, all these people on pilgrimages, all these pilgrims, as they passed through, needed a place to rest. And the most common place invariably was the temple. So they had the village temple open at all times for all these panthas, as they were known, the travelers who could sit there and wait. Invariably there is to be a well around, so water was never a problem. But food could be. And so it was a responsibility of the people, the gruhasthas within the village, to check if there was a panthastha around for whom food was a necessity. And even for them, it wasn't really very awkward, because if I provide food for somebody today, I'm going to travel to Varanasi or someplace next week, and on my way, I'm going to need all this help from the people who have been told by their dharma, by their religion, that you must take care of an atithi, an unannounced guest. Because for announced, known guests, you have provided great food. But then the saying goes, Atithi Devo Bhava. An unannounced guest is nothing but God Himself. So make sure that He is pleased. Make sure that you provide as much as possible for them. This was not a practice that was practiced even then only. Today, there are so many people who take a special pilgrimage known as the Narmada Parikrama, encircling the great river Narmada. And tales go around of people walking for days on days through jungles all around the river, and at various sites they come across places that are specially built and designed to provide food for them, to provide shelter for them. And if they meet people on the way, there is somebody to help them to provide food so that their pilgrimage could be complete. So this is a practice that was entrusted not just as a social norm, but a part and parcel of the religion, of the dharma itself. And dharma, as I told you, is nothing but the ideal way of living, an ideal commitment. So since everyone went through this cycle, they had to help each other also, keeping in mind the help that they had received sometime previously. So you must give, and give whatever is possible. But then even there the conditions are laid down as to how you must give. The process of giving is known as dana, and it is to give treating the person as a revered person, and give happily, and give without expecting some great reward in exchange, or a great recognition by others that he is a great giver. People would appreciate this, but then it is not essential that you mention it around. And that is what was expected whenever this dana or giving was concerned. One of the very good couplets in Sanskrit says, Hastasya Bhushanam Danam. That means the true ornament of your hands is your ability to give using your hands to somebody else. There's a tale I think I narrated long back as to what Brahmadev assigned to different people, what he told gods and what he told demons. To the humans he said, you must give, because you have to survive together. So if you give, somebody will give you. So giving is one of your greatest virtues, and give without pride, give without claiming credit. I'm reminded of two issues associated with this. One is a small anecdote. Arjun asked Krishna in their discussions that, you've seen so many people around. Have you ever seen a person as good and as good a donor than my brother, the elder Yudhishthira that you know of? Krishna said, no. There are people who are sometimes better off. And he talked of Karna. And so Arjuna was a little angry because there was always a fight between the two of them. Now this is an imaginary story, maybe it is not true, but the core is the essence of what you must understand. So Krishna said, okay, I'll ensure, I'll provide things for you. He made a big, huge mountain of ornaments and gold, and he made one mountain for Arjun and the second one for Karna, and said, look, tomorrow at sunrise you start giving, and if you are a bigger giver, you should be able to finish this off, polish it off and give it off to people. So the next day, early morning, just at sunrise, Arjun got up, took a shovel, basket, asked people to stand in a row and systematically started giving away all the ornaments using a shovel, and as much as possible that they could carry off, and help them in the process. And by the end of the day, he did not eat, he did not do anything else, but kept on giving. And by the end of the day, only about a fourth of the mountain was over. So at sunset, he went to Krishna and says, "Look, I have polished off 1/4 of the mountain. Where is that big donor Karna?" So Krishna said, "Where? He's fast asleep in his house." He says, "How come? Has he not been busy giving away things like me, giving everyone, ensuring that they get what they want?" He says, "No, not at all. He got up in the morning, went to the mountain, collected people and said, 'Look, this is for you people. Take whatever you want. Enjoy yourselves.' And he walked off because he had other donations to make." And that is the crux, my dear friends. It is not you personally giving something that matters. It is reaching somebody that is more important. So that then you are free to do something better. Even now, making your name plate indicating that this is donated by me is not all that important according to Hinduism. Because in every major temple, you would find what is typically referred to as a hundi. If you go to South India, and if you go to the Venkateshwara temple, you would find a big hundi there. And people give whatever they have at that instant and drop it inside. And there is no trace of what they have given. There is no record of what they have given. It could be ornaments, it could be bangles, it could be rings, it could be jewelry, it could be currency that they are carrying off. And they could just go there and dump it inside without counting what it was. It is this feeling of giving and not keeping a trace of it that is important, because giving is not to get credit. Giving is for the sake of giving, and that, my dear friends, is more important. And there are so many examples, not then but even today. I know of one of my teachers, Dr. Karandikar. She had a bungalow in a city called Sangli, and she was in Pune and her brother passed away and there was no one there. So rather than going and staying there, she said, "One room, small room here is good enough for me. I'll stay here." And she donated off the whole bungalow for the destitute. Now that sort of work and that sort of commitment, in spite of having a very small place for herself, giving away for somebody else, that is what counts. So dana is a major issue associated with this aspect of the final yajna, the Nru Yajna or the Manav Yajna as it is known. All these are commitments that every individual must make. I will do it. Sometime or other I will take care of all this. I will make sure that I commit to do all these every day. These are the things that we must all practice. Since it has been entrusted as a part of the religion, a part of the dharma, you can realize the great wisdom of all the rishis who thought of this. Because this is nothing but a method of ensuring that this society, this culture, this religion evolves and progresses with time. You need to change each and every of these yajnas to suit our conditions now. But we must all practice this. As I conclude, let me ask you to think again. Peep inside your hearts and find out as to what you are doing and what your commitments are. Understand the importance of these Pancha Maha Yadnyas. Whether they are practiced in the same form or a parallel corresponding form, it doesn't really matter. It is the method and the result that is really going to count. Please tell your friends about this. Ensure that they also follow the Pancha Maha Yadnyas. Till we meet again on some other important topic 15 days from now. Namaskar.